So now it sounds like the Cleveland Browns are going to all but imprison Shedeur Sanders. Okay, look, that's probably too strong a word, but imprison him in the football sense of a very talented rookie quarterback who obviously needs reps. He needs an opportunity, and who is now trapped as the fourth string quarterback on the active 53-man roster, who won't be getting many, if any, practice reps, maybe some on the scout team shared with Dylan Gabriel, but he'll get most of them. And who now, barring some miraculous luck, will not get the opportunity to play in a single real game. Hope I'm wrong about that. I'll get into that. But it's very possible we have seen the very last of Shedeur Sanders in 2025. Now that he'll be stashed in the shadows in Cleveland, Ohio, on what a lot of people think is the NFL's worst team, which I'm sure many around the NFL are celebrating as we speak. They are chuckling about this. They're calling each other about this because many in the NFL wanted to teach Shedeur and his daddy a lesson. We don't do it that way up here in the NFL. Potential franchise quarterbacks do not make arrogant, egotistical pre-draft statements. They do not drive 3 or 4 exotic cars while they're still playing college football. And their head coach / father shouldn't have spoiled this young man, this quarterback, by having a DJ in the Colorado locker room before and after games and even at a halftime. Bomb, bomb, bomb. It goes on and on and on. The NFL wanted to see Shedeur and Deion humbled. And having Shedeur stuck all the way down at fourth string in Cleveland, Ohio with the Browns, the sorry-ass Browns, must seem like the perfect way to achieve that. Humbled. Out here in LA, I can hear the laughter coming from all over the NFL. And it just makes me want to puke. Nothing in sports has ever angered me more than what the NFL has done to Shedeur Sanders and to his father. I'll say it one last time. Yeah. I said he should go first overall. I said it before last college football season. Mel Kiper Jr. wound up ranking Shedeur above Cam Ward. But the league said, humble him. Now, I am not saying some memo went out to humble him. I'm not saying there's a smoking gun memo out there somewhere. I'm not even saying this came from the league office. I'm saying this was the good old boy network to a large extent around the NFL. This is coaches, this is GMs, scouts, front office people, a lot of fraternity going on, whole lot of bad mouthing by phone. It just, the word got out. No, 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 no. Whole lot of no way, we're taking him, and then no way, we're taking him, no way, we're taking him, no way, no way, no way, no way. It just spread like evil wildfire around the NFL. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Do not underestimate how many head coaches out there in the NFL were scared to death of taking Shedeur because they were scared to death that either Deion would soon campaign for their job, or maybe the owner would start thinking, man, I could bring Deion in here and sell a few more billion tickets. And Deion, as they all knew, would be hired over them just on pure star power alone, just on charisma, on magnitude, on neon Deion, on Coach Prime, on everything Deion. They knew it, and they were scared to death of it. So in the end, because of all the above, Shedeur, he was blackballed, or maybe more accurately, he was whiteballed. Look, I'll say it one last time. Help me, God. The Browns showed you their hand by taking Dylan Gabriel 50 slots higher than they wound up taking Shedeur. Took Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, Shedeur in the 5th. The head coach, Kevin Stefanski, did not want Shedeur Sanders. The GM, Andrew Barry, clearly did not want Shedeur Sanders, but the owner, Jimmy Haslam, got involved as he's wont to do in the 5th round and said, okay, let's take Shedeur now. I believe Haslam just saw Shedeur as a publicity stunt, anything to take some of the focus off the fact that the Browns have the worst odds to win the Super Bowl in the NFL. On Tuesday, August 26th, it's FanDuel Futures Day, a new holiday for football fans. It is 24 hours of deals on all your football season predictions. You can crown your champion in August. It's still a little early for me to make my ultimate Super Bowl pick, so I do reserve the right to change by, let's say, September 3rd. But right here, right now, I am taking to win it all this season, drumroll please, the Baltimore Ravens. Here I go again. They obviously have the best overall, the deepest team with a top 3 quarterback in Lamar Jackson, who obviously needs to finally break through and validate his 2 MVPs. He's 3-5 in the postseason, not good enough. Now, in the AFC, I am intrigued by Joe Burrow and the Bengals. That's if they don't trade Trey Hendrickson, if they get that deal done. I know they're still lacking on defense, but it's going to be better than it was last year. And over in the NFC, I still think the Eagles that I picked before last season to win it all, I still think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. Though I am intrigued by Jaden Daniels and Washington. But in the end, I've got Lamar over Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl. So mark your calendars. This is your day for your hunches, your hot takes, your calls, your odds. Visit FanDuel.com/ my first name, SKIP. That's FanDuel.com/skip to join today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. That's FanDuel. Play your game. But quarterback injuries conspired against the Browns to start with. They were forced, of course, to give Shedeur a shot in the first preseason game only because of all that spate of injuries. No surprise here, Shedeur played like the first pick in the draft. Then the Browns got a huge break. Shedeur pulled an oblique muscle, and he couldn't go in the second preseason game. Did that ever take Stefanski off the hook? And then Saturday, of course, in the final preseason game, they threw Shedeur into the fire in the 3rd quarter, let him play, I guess you'd say, most of the 4th quarter, with a bunch of guys who probably won't even make the roster. Shedeur's first throw went to a tight end who isn't even listed at 3rd or 4th string on the depth chart. So you'd have to start at what's not even listed as 5th string. It felt like Shedeur sabotage to me. As I said in the video, I unleashed right after the game. And on Sunday, Stefanski was asked about sabotaging Shedeur, presumably a question triggered by my video. And of course, Stefanski said, no, blah, 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 blah. I said in my video, I at least hoped the Browns would have the decency to put Shedeur on their practice squad so that any team could sign him, and maybe some desperate team out there would wise up and go against the NFL grain and plunge on Shedeur. I just need Shedeur to land someplace where somebody actually wants him for more than a publicity stunt, actually thinks maybe he can play and maybe he would get a shot. But now it sounds like the Browns are going to do something that has rarely been done in the NFL, and that is keep 4 quarterbacks on the active roster. Even though the Browns are, say it again, according to the odds makers, the worst team in the NFL. And now they'll make themselves a little worse because They won't be able to add 2 more players as quality backups and special teams performers because they're keeping 2 more quarterbacks than they'll need. But clearly, here's the point. They don't want to risk Shedeur coming back to haunt them. So they're willing to waste a roster spot to make sure he's going nowhere. Or at least Jimmy Haslam is probably the one pulling the strings there, saying you got to keep Shedeur on the active roster, off the practice squad, out of harm's way, because I don't want to look like a bigger fool than I already look like. So in recent memory, 5 teams have kept 4 quarterbacks on their 53-man roster. That's going back to Washington in 2013, Jets in 2016 and 2020, Dolphins in 2018, and the Saints in 2021. Yet, here is the point that you must let go into your brain. None of those teams kept 2 rookie quarterbacks among those 4. I mean, who these days drafts 2 rookie quarterbacks? You just don't, because usually you already have a couple of veterans. You draft a rookie, and then you're not going to draft another rookie quarterback. I mean, obviously, speaking of the Cowboy documentary that's out there, the America's Team documentary, the last time I can remember anything like this was way back when I was covering the Cowboys in 1989, when Jimmy Johnson was so unsold on the Troy Aikman that he took number 1 overall, that in that summer's what was called then the supplemental draft, obviously doesn't exist anymore, Jimmy took his old University of Miami quarterback, Steve Walsh. He'd won a championship with Steve Walsh, national championship. Took Steve Walsh first overall, so those Cowboys had 2 number 1 overall pick rookies competing in training camp. Never happened before, since, won't. But again, those days are gone. In recent times, keeping 2 veterans in Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, and then 2 rookies in Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur is just, it's unprecedented. And it's because they're afraid of what Shedeur might do to them if you expose him on your practice squad and somebody says, yes, I'll take him. So I keep racking my brain, wondering now if another team would trade for Shedeur. So let's say another team offered, let's say, a 5th rounder in trade for Shedeur, maybe even a 4th rounder. Even then, I doubt Haslam would do it, because he wouldn't want to risk the shame of Shedeur turning into the star he can be elsewhere. And I hope some team offers maybe a 3rd. Would some team offer a 3rd? That'd be a lot for a 5th round rookie. Maybe if that happened, Haslam would just throw up his hands and say, okay, take it. Because I just want Shedeur out from under a coaching staff and a front office that obviously didn't want him in the first place and really doesn't want him now. Please get Shedeur Sanders the hell out of Cleveland. Somehow, some way out of Cleveland. Please. And by the way, if you're skeptical or maybe even laughing at my opinion about a league-wide conspiracy against Shedeur, did you catch what Hall of Famer Eric Dickerson said last week on an LA radio show? Eric Dickerson said, quote, I tell you this much, what I heard from someone that's in the NFL, that the NFL told teams, don't draft him, do not draft him. We're going to make an example out of him. And this came from a very good source, said Eric Dickerson. Eric said he also heard that Shedeur, after Shedeur had fallen all the way to the 5th round, that the Browns were ordered to stop the free fall and take him. I'm not so sure about that, but again, it was obvious to me and to Mel Kiper that the word had circulated. I'm not saying from the top, from the league. I'm not trying to incriminate the commissioner here, just that the word had gotten out, the network of word, the fraternity word among coaches and scouts and execs, don't take Shedeur. Mel blew up about this, as you recall, on ESPN, called it disgusting and nonsensical, and finally saying the NFL has been clueless for about 50 years about evaluating quarterbacks. And that is obviously so true. See Tom Brady in the 6th round, Joe Montana in the 3rd round. Those are the best 2 quarterbacks ever, 6th round, 3rd round. Who knew? But this obviously was very different than that. This was a lesson teaching conspiracy. So now I'm left with this. What's the best case scenario here? What's that last hurrah, that possible God is good development, as maybe Dion might say about his son? Okay, so the Browns open with, get ready for this, Bengals at Ravens, Packers at Lions, Vikings at Steelers. So, okay, I'm not wishing any evil on anybody, but let's say Flacco goes 0-6, gets beat up at age 40. I don't know. Maybe they try Kenny Pickett. He seems to have fallen out of favor with this hamstring injury, but I don't know. Let's just do hypothetical here. Maybe they try Kenny Pickett for a few games. Then maybe they fall to, 2-10, and Jimmy Haslam said, okay, that's enough. Let's see what Gabriel looks like. And maybe Dylan Gabriel, who I've said all along, he's a little better than Tua, which is pretty good. I know him inside and out. He's pretty good, but he's not Shedeur. So maybe they throw Dylan Gabriel into that worst team in the NFL fire, and he has his moments, but ultimately unravels. And finally, let's just say for the point of discussion here that Shedeur Sanders finally gets his shot for the last 3 games of the year. That would be Bills and Steelers at home in Cleveland, then the finale at Cincinnati. Not easy, but Shedeur, trust me, would rise to that occasion. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that Shedeur Sanders gets his shot for, let's say the last 3 games, and he just lights them up. And he convinces Jimmy Haslam he should be the man, the starter going into the 2026 offseason and season. And let's just say, help me God, let's just say that Haslam fires Stefanski and he fires Andrew Berry, and here we go. I mean, who knows what crazy injuries could happen this season? I am not wishing injuries on any of the other Cleveland Browns quarterbacks. But history tells you they do happen, and happen a lot. All I know for sure is that if Shedeur Sanders is given the slightest of opportunities to start a real NFL game surrounded by real players, starters on offense, starters on defense, even for the worst team, he will electrify the team and the city and ultimately the country. He will shine with his deadly accuracy and his clutch toughness, and he will shame the National Football League. Better laugh now, all you NFL scouts and coaches out there. Better laugh now while he's stuck in Cleveland at 4th string, because I'm here to tell you that Shedeur Sanders will have the last laugh.